Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 33rd episode of Heartcore, the Human Design Podcast. I am Miko, and if you're watching, you can see that someone is missing. Celestina is not here today, and that's why I have Luc with me, because I really suck at doing this by myself. At least up to now. Let's see how it goes. I usually always need someone to talk to, so I hope that Luc is going to help me with this. But today we're going to be talking about the love gates. There are 10/11 of these love gates. I know last time we gave you a cliffhanger of us going to be talking about Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez, and Jennifer Garner, and we are going to do that, but I'm hoping that I can do that with Celestina again by my side. So that's why today we decided to do the love gates first. The love gates are, as I said, 10/11 gates in the human design body graph that talk about love. And they're divided into two different types of love. One of them is mundane or personal, and the other one is called anti-mundane or anti-mundane, and it's transcendental love. There are 4 transcendental love gates, which is gate 10, gate 15, gate 46, and gate 25. And then there are 7 mundane love gates, personal love gates, which are again gate 10. So that one can be both transcendental and personal. Then we have gate 40, gate 55, gate 41, gate 58, gate 28, and gate 44. We are today going to talk about what that means exactly. So when you're looking at your body graph and you have one of those gates, this is the way that you're going to be experiencing love. And also, this is the way that you're going to experience it in a healthy way. If you're entering into it correctly, that is the very, very, very important part of this whole thing. You need to enter into every relationship correctly. So, for example, if you're a projector, you really need to use the strategy of being invited into it. If you're a generator, you need to wait for your sacral response. Then, of course, you also have to add your inner authority. So, whichever your inner authority is, you need to follow that as well. But first, you really need to follow your strategy as your type. So, if you're a manifesting generator, you need to wait for that sacral response, and then you can initiate. As a manifester, you can initiate, but you need to also follow your inner authority, so follow your intuition to know what to initiate, because sometimes we will have some impulses and we'll be like, okay, that's what I want to initiate. And it may not be the right one if your mind was telling you to do so or trying to convince you to do so. If you are a reflector, you will have to wait a lunar cycle, because as a manifestor and as a reflector, your aura is more influenced by the planets, the whatever is going on planetary wise, and you're going to be slightly less influenced by people around you. Especially as a reflector, they have one of the most dense aura. Like, it is very protective. It's interesting because it's both protective of the reflector, him or herself, but at the same time it's sampling as well. So that is how they learn things in life. They sample the auras of others, the energy of others, but they are usually less influenced by it. And manifestors, they have a repelling aura, which sounds very horrible at first, but don't be shocked by the language used in human design sometimes. It can be very repulsive or repelling, but it doesn't mean that the words that are used are actually always as harsh and as strong as they appear to be. So yeah, I think I mentioned all 5 types and their strategies, but you will also need to use your inner authority, as I had mentioned. Another thing that is going to be important here, I'm not going to be looking at a body graph or a connecting chart, a connective chart. So where you have two individuals coming together and then the themes of love either develop or they don't. We will be doing that more when we're looking at Ben Affleck, Jennifer Garner, and JLo. But at the moment, we're going to only be talking about the individual gates. And bear in mind that even if you have them in your design, they may be active, they may be dormant, they may get activated by others, by another partner, by kids, by family members, by friends, things like that. So you always have to look at a chart to really give precise information. But what I'm going to be describing today, you're at least going to get an idea of what these love gates are about. Additionally, when you're looking at a chart with two individuals coming together, you will have either one of the love gates, you may have the other side of the love gate, you may create electromagnetic connections, so that is when one partner has one side of the channel and the other partner has the other side of the channel. So that would be a electromagnetic connection. You can have someone being dominant in a whole channel. That would be them having the full channel and you not having any elements of that channel. You could have a compromise where one person has the full channel and the other one only has a gate. And then you can have companionship channels where you both have the same channel. There can also be companionship gates where you both have the same gates, and all of them come with a bit of a challenge. So none of them are perfect. A lot of people out there are saying, oh, electromagnetic is the way you want to go. Not really. It can lead to a lot of problems. So the only way that you're going to be in a healthy relationship is when you're both willing to work on it, of course. And if you believe in human design, if you want to follow human design, then what is said is the only way to be in a healthy relationship is when you enter into it correctly. So if you are going to, as a projector, try to force someone into being in a relationship, it's not going to work. Well, generally forcing someone into a relationship is not going to work, not even for any other type. But as a projector, you're there to wait for the invitation. And if you're then going to continuously badger someone and be like, okay, are we in a relationship? Are we in a relationship? Are we in a relationship? Instead of just trusting your energy field and trusting that you will attract that request from the other person, that would be entering into it correctly. Of course, then, as I said, you need to listen to your inner authority and be like, okay, is this really what I want? So that's the other part. Once you receive the invitation as a projector, then you still need to figure out, is this really what I want? Is that correct for me? And you will not figure that out through the mind. You will figure that out by using your intuition. And that, to me, is like using your inner authority. So it also depends if your gate of love is in a defined center, so where you have a consistent energy flow towards that gate, or if it's in an undefined center where you don't have a consistent energy flow towards that gate. And what happens when two people come together? What does that mean when your partner has a defined center and it's activating this love gate within you? And when that doesn't happen? So going through all of these details. So no one ever rings my doorbell, but someone just did and delivered a sweet little package from my godmother. Oracle cards. Love who you are if you are not watching. That was the short little break, but how beautiful is it that it came exactly at the point where we're talking about love gates. And essentially, this really is what it's going to be all about. To experience love, you need to love who you are. I'm not entirely sure where I stopped. I also can't look back at where I stopped. So I'm hoping that I'm not going to lose too much of where we're going with this. I think I was talking about the undefined centers in your chart and in having them in connection with the love gates. So yeah, it just really depends on how these love gates show up in your design, whether they're dormant or continuously active in you. But the main thing about all of this is that you really enter into things correctly. And as you will see, these love gates sound beautiful at first. When you hear, oh, love gates, that's great. They do have quite a few challenges in them as well. And when you're living in your shadow and when you're not entering into things correctly, the shadow is going to come out within the relationship, within your life, no matter what. When it's an active gate in your chart, you will express more of the shadow side than the positive aspects of this gate. So let's jump in. We are going to start with the transcendental love gates. And we're going to start with gate 25. So when you're looking at the mandala around the human design chart, gate 25 is in the quarter of initiation in that mandala. And every quarter represents something about the gate as well. So it is something that is transpersonal, the gate itself, and it is a love that needs to be initiated, as this quarter says, is the quarter of initiation. The gate is often seen as an element of the priest or the priestess because they try to initiate the people that are listening to them. And they have this love for the people that they're trying to initiate, that they preach to, but it's a distant love. It's a universal love. And this is what the 25th gate is all about. It is really about a universal kind of love. And it is a romantic gate, but it is a very, very individual gate. So it has nothing to do with making this personal. If you have this in your chart and you interact with others, and let's imagine you only have this gate in your chart, then what may happen is that you do have this unconditional love for everything and everyone around you, but it is not towards an individual. It is loving the tree as much as you could love a dog, as much as you could love a human. So it is very universal. And that can be difficult to understand for some. All of the gates that I'm going to be talking about, gate 25, 15, 46, and 10, so all the transcendental love gates, are part of the vessel of love. So the vessel of love is an incarnation cross, and if you've met someone that has the vessel of love, they are very much like that. They have this anti-mundane or not very personal kind of love aspect to them. Of course, they may also have some other love gates in there as well that are more personal. But when you're interacting with someone like that, you shouldn't try to make it into a personal love. You can be in a relationship with them, but it's still a very different kind of love. So as you can see, it's going to be a bit challenging to talk about some of these gates or to explain some of these gates because it takes a whole new level of understanding. And when we're looking at it from a not-self perspective, when we're looking at it from a conditioned perspective of what love should be, these qualities can be very difficult to understand. Gate 15 is the next gate we're going to look at, and that is in the quarter of civilization. So if you're comparing gate 25 to a priest or a priestess, Ra says that this one should be compared to a politician. I think these days it is very difficult to see this love for humanity in politicians. But I think what he meant to say is that it would be the ideal politician who really has the best interest of humanity at heart. And to do that, it is about giving the proper rules, proper education, and proper support for moral development in order to create a society that doesn't want to kill each other. That is what love of humanity, this gate 15, is about. It's about organizing humanity in a way that everyone lives together in harmony instead of trying to wage wars with one another. So that is why he may be comparing it to a politician. But as I said, I think it's more of a, I wish this is what politicians were like, instead of this is actually what they are like. But it's also a good image of comparing gate 25 and gate 15 with one another. Gate 46, on the other hand, is also coming from the G center. So all of these 4 gates are coming from the G center, and this one is in the quarter of duality. So here it's really about bonding with others. And gate 46 is known for the love of the body. It's also connected to a deep-rooted fear. It's connected to all the gates in the splenic center. And the only way to transcend this fear is by accepting the beauty and perfection of your physical vehicle. And what Ross says about that is that it's not about really falling in love fully with your body, although that is what is going to happen once you follow your type and your strategy. So it's really about that, following your type and your strategy. And then you will, hopefully, potentially, that's what he says, you will fall in love with your body as well. So the challenge with this is, it is a transcendental gate. It is not a personal gate. However, gate 29 on the other side of that channel, it keeps saying, I'm ready to make a commitment. That's where this push and pull towards personal relationship, transcendental relationship, personal relationship, transcendental relationship, it keeps pushing and pulling. So if you do have a connection with someone else with gate 29, this can be a challenge where gate 29 is ready to make the commitment. And for you, it's maybe not that kind of love. Maybe it's not as personal for you. The interesting thing is, when you're looking at the love gates, the ones that you don't have in your chart are usually the ones that you crave the most. So human design and generally just evolution, it's not really about human design, but human design shows this, that a lot of times we are looking for what we are not, and we are pulled towards what we are not. And that is the same when it comes to any gate. If you have one side of the gate, you often search for the other side, especially if that would bridge your split. And what that means is that if you are a split definition and you have one gate missing, then your design is trying to find that other side of the gate. It's not like you're going to walk around asking everyone, okay, do you have that gate? Do you have that gate? But it is an energetic connection that is happening. It is an energetic pull that you're experiencing. You're automatically more drawn to that other side, or the people that have this other gate. The channels that are going from the sacral to the G center, or the G center to the sacral, they are known as tantric channels. So they are very powerful. And it doesn't mean that if you have these channels in your relationship that you're going to experience tantric love. But in this case, the way that you're experiencing this love is through the body. And the challenge, however, is to really find someone that is already awakened, as Ra says. So we all have a deconditioning process to go through, and we all have an inner truth that we're here to express. And human design shows us this inner truth. The blueprint that we're seeing, that is who we are here to be. The challenge is that we are often being conditioned through everywhere where we're open in our chart, whether it's gates or channels or whole centers. That is often where we are conditioned to believe that we are this, we are that, but we're actually not. And even within the things that are defined within us, we can express it in our not self. Even in the places where we are undefined, we can be in our not self. So it's tricky to bring a balancing act into it. And a tantric experience that transcends the body through truly loving one's body and experiencing that with another person, that is already next level. So this is not something that just everyone is going to be able to experience, whether you have that gate or not. It takes a lot of inner work and meditation and breathing exercises and really deconditioning to move to that level. And imagine finding someone that is on that level with you. First of all, you need to bring yourself to that level, and then you need to find someone that's on that level. So if you believe that who you are is what you attract, then that's perfect. That's great, because then you will at some point attract someone like that into your life. And I'm a very strong believer of that, that who you are and the work that you're doing is going to attract the person that you want into your life as well. That being said, I'm also very much aware of unhealthy relationships and being in abusive relationships, for example, but that is another level that needs to be deciphered. It is not something that I can generally talk about and say, okay, everyone that is in such a relationship needs to do X, Y, Z. It's not that simple. And it's definitely not easy to get out of these relationships. So just bear that in mind. It doesn't reflect who you are if you are in a relationship with someone that is abusive. Don't take it that way. The only thing that you can do is to figure out how to get out of this relationship. And once you manage to get out of it, there is a lot that needs to be done and cleared so that you don't repeat such patterns. Because a lot of times I see individuals who are going through such challenging relationships, they finally manage to get out of it. A lot of times the average is 7 times trying to get out until they finally manage to get out of it. So it's a very, very tedious and difficult process. And the important thing is that if you do manage that, to take that leap, to clear whatever it is that keeps you going back into such vicious circles. Now we're going to be talking about gate 10. And gate 10 is the one that's on the verge. It's the one that can be transcendental. It's the one that can be personal. However, the personal side of this gate will still always have the transcendental side to it. There's always going to be that element in gate 10. Gate 10 is the love of being alive in the world. And it's a gate that Ra had. He speaks of it that it can be pretty harsh in some ways, because people that don't have that gate and that don't recognize this, they have a tendency to see this as cynical, maybe. It's someone that loves the world just the way that it is. It's not trying to change it. It's not trying to say, okay, there should be less war on this earth. There should be more peace on this earth. It's just the way that it is. That's how they are in love with it. And nothing needs to change for the better. So they really accept both the light and the dark. And within that, it's also known as the gate of self-love. And that's where we're moving into the personal aspect. So it has the potential of loving yourself. It doesn't mean that if you have that, you will love yourself and you will know what to do to love yourself. It just means that there is a potential for you to do so. The way that you're going to experience that, the discovery of love of yourself, is through others. So that is also why it's personal. It's not just personal because it's related to you, but it's also related to others. The challenge with this gate is that a lot of times it is connected to a shadow side. So the reason why we're so in love with people telling us that they love us is because we have a tendency to, whenever someone says that to us, believe that, oh wow, there is something to love about me. And this may be subconscious, this may be very conscious, but it's something that creates a dependency in you. And none of these gates are about being dependent. And it's also often a very steep learning curve, especially when it comes to the personal gates. There's a lot that you need to know and learn about the love that you're experiencing to either not take it personal or to not make it personal. And so not a lot of distance needs to happen when you're talking about these gates at the same time as experiencing it with others. So the 10th gate can connect to 3 different gates. It is very influential in the body graph. When it connects to the 20th gate, it is saying, I love you because you wake me up, you show me who I am in the now. So gate 20 is very much about being in the now. If it's connected to the 57th gate, it is about, I love you because I can survive with you and I can't survive without you. And it also is about you showing me that our love can be perfect. Gate 34 is, I love you because you help me to live out what I know is right for me. So it basically provides you that fuel, that energy to really love yourself and to know what it is that I need or you need to take care of yourself. So each and every one of these things are ways to be influenced in how you show yourself love, how you experience self-love, and how you start to create a dependency towards someone else. You can see this as dependency, and that's why the letting go is so important within each of these love gates. It is really about loving someone without holding on too tightly. You need to be able to still be your own person. You need to be able to recognize the partnership as a third person. And you need to be able to recognize that the other person is also their individual person. So there are basically 3 people in a relationship. It's you, your partner, and this third being that is being created. As soon as you're taking 2 body graphs together, there is another being that is being created. It also works with pentas. If you're having 3 to 5 people, it is a whole different version of group dynamics that is being created. It is not about just the individual anymore, but the individuals are still also within the relationship. So that is why all of this is so super interesting. But the important thing is really that you still recognize that there are 3 dynamics in it, and each of them need their space and time. Especially if you have some of the alone gates, or if you have different line elements in your profile. There are some that need more alone time. There are some that need less alone time. We're going to be looking at that when we're talking about this in the next episode. But for now, just know that there is just a lot that is happening additionally to the information that I'm sharing. Gate 44, it's I love you because we're a success. In gate 44, if you're looking at the body graph, you can see that it's coming from the spleen and it's going towards the ego. It is known as the marketing line. When it comes to relationships, it's still about the material side of things. So it's still very heavily connected to how successful are we within the relationship. If you're in the shadow, though, the challenge is that you're going to see this as sometimes a very traditional relationship. And let's just imagine a very traditional relationship back in the day where the husband would go to work and the woman would stay at home and would take care of the kids. The husband, when in the not self, he will think, okay, I'm the breadwinner, and the success that we have material-wise is because I am bringing in the money. So that's why we can afford this house, this car, this whatever it is that they can afford. In the healthy version, it is a recognition for both partners and their talents. So even if you are in a traditional relationship where the husband goes or one partner goes and earns the money and the other person stays at home, this can still work very well if both recognize that both parts are needed to make this a success. Just because one of them is bringing home the money doesn't mean that they are the only ones responsible for the material wealth that is acquired, because you also need someone to take care of the other side of things, whatever the other side of things may be. But doing it all by yourself is virtually impossible if you want to be truly successful. And gate 44 in a love relationship is a lot about they feel successful in their love when there is this wealth. And if individuals that have this activation fall into poverty, it will have a huge strain on the love aspect. Again, there are more things that play a part into this whole thing, so just focusing on that, if you do have that connection, it doesn't make sense, but it can be a very, very tough time for someone that has this in their partnership if they lose the financial means. Gate 40 is a bit of an ego love because it's in the ego center. It's connected to the stomach. So yeah, that may be where the quote comes from, that Liebe geht durch den Magen. Love goes through the stomach. I don't know if that exists in English, but in German it's a big thing. And in my family, it's a very big thing. So gate 40 is about, I'm doing this for you, so you better love me. And you can see how this can be very, very unhealthy when you're living in a shadow aspect. You need to bring it up all the time. You need to tell them all the time that I'm doing this, so you need to do this for me. It also depends if you have the full channel, if you only have gate 40, or if you maybe only have gate 37 on the other side. But this is a theme that comes up, and it's also a way of love for that person. So these individuals, they often need someone to provide for. If they don't have that, they're actually not able to, again, materially be successful, but they are also not able to do the work. They need someone to do the work for. And when they have that kind of a motivation, they can work a lot. But it's really about, I need that motivation. I need to be able to do this for you. But then on the other side, they also need this bargain, as in, if I do that, then you do that. So for example, if I bring home the money, then you cook food for me that I enjoy eating. So that's where the stomach comes in. But it's more than that, of course. As with every gate, there is much more. Just for you to kind of grasp the different kinds of love that are out there and how they can maybe influence you in your relationships. I find that super fascinating to see that the things that we're arguing about in relationships, the things that are challenging in our relationships, they are in our human design body graphs. We can see these things. And we as readers, if you have a couple that is going through tough times, one of the first things that you would go looking at is compromise channels. You will find a lot of information in the compromise channels. You will find a lot of information in the love gates, whether it's connected or whether it's defined in a defined center or undefined center. There is a lot of information that comes out through reading a couple's human design body graph. And even in families, even with friends, even with business partners, there are many insights that you can gain from that. Gate 58 is the next one we're talking about. And that one is about a love that pushes you to be better. As a gate 58, it always tries to correct the other person. And this, again, it's important not to take it personal, even though this is a mundane type of love. It's a personal love. But you cannot take it personal per se. So you can't, when the other person has this way of correcting you all the time and you're going to take it personal, it's going to affect you a lot. Of course, how can it not? Of course it's going to affect you if the other person is going to be nagging on you, quote unquote. It doesn't mean that they are doing it. If they're in their shadow aspect, yes, it's nagging. But if it's in their light aspect, if they really live out this element of their design in a positive way, it is never a way of trying to improve you for their personal benefit. It is always a recommendation that they share with you because they want to help you become a better version of yourself. But if it is in a shadow aspect, you're just going to see it as nagging. You're going to see it as someone that is continuously complaining, and you can never be good enough for that person. And that is when it becomes very difficult. So try not to take it personal, but if it's really bothering you, it may not have been the right way of entering into the relationship. Or maybe there's, of course, other challenges where the other person is just not in their light aspect yet. Gate 41 is the next one we're going to be talking about, and that is the only one in these love gates that is connected to sex. It is actually connected to fantasies, and that's what makes it a bit challenging. Because what can happen is if someone in the relationship has the gate 41, is that they're fantasizing about others or about a different version of the sex life than the one that is actually happening. And if you're a very, very jealous partner and you can't even handle someone fantasizing about someone else, that can create a lot of issues. Of course, jealousy in itself is an insecurity. It is something that you need to work on within yourself. But that being said, I also believe that the partner plays a big role in this. You can be a very secure individual, but if your partner continuously gives you reasons not to be secure within yourself, it is going to lead you down the path of being insecure. And if eventually it's just not going to work. That's why trust and feeling safe and secure in a relationship is so important. And if one of you is extremely insecure, it can, of course, have something to do with your past, with things that happened to you in your past, which is always why I think it's so important with every partner that you enter into a relationship to see it as a new beginning. It is a whole new person. It is not the same thing at all. You are not the same person that you were, and you're not the same person as you are with this person. You are an individual, and as you can see in human design, you have your own imprint, you have your own design, your body graph, who you are. But as soon as you're connecting with someone else, you are influenced in certain ways. And in human design, when you're looking at connection charts, there are some elements that you can recognize within the other person that everyone else is going to recognize as well. Those are, for example, if you have companionship channels. These are channels where you both have the same channel, and this is where you really truly recognize the person for who they are in that aspect. If you find someone that has the identical body graph to you, so basically born at the same time, same place, it's something that you truly resonate with, and that is pretty much the only person that you can fully relate to, that you can fully, completely see for who they are, because this is also a reflection of who you are. Everyone else in the world, you will see differently than the person next to you. We all see each other very differently to other people, because we bring ourselves into the picture automatically. There's nothing we can do about it. It's like wearing a certain color of tinted glasses and everyone else has a different tint. Everyone else is going to see something completely different because we have our own unique way of seeing someone and things around us. And when we come together, we create a whole different thing. That's also why the love that you experience with every partner or every person that you love on this planet is always going to be different. It's never the same. Even if you would have someone that has the exact same gates, there's always more layers to this gate. You have color tones and bases as well. So there's just so much that goes beyond the gate and beyond the line that you don't see, and that still plays a big role in everyone's chart. And then additionally come all the experiences that these individuals had. Even if you find someone that has an identical chart to one of your exes, for example. They've had many, many, many different experiences. So they may be more evolved in the way that they interact with the world. They are less conditioned. They're more balanced within themselves. And they will have a completely different expression of their chart, their design, and who they truly are. It will be more loving automatically. So gate 28 is again an individual gate. We are now talking about a love language. Gate 28 is a very romantic gate. And it really means that you need to be in the mood. This gate is often seen as a very melancholic gate. This gate is often connected to muse. So a muse in history, and even these days, it's mostly connected to love. It inspires you, but it's also often something that makes you very sad and melancholic. Through this deep individual melancholic process, so every individual gate or channel has a lot of melancholy inside of it. And this gate is deeply connected to struggling. It's in the channel of struggle, and that is what the love feels like. It is a struggle in the love, but when you're entering into it correctly, when you've followed your strategy, when you've listened to your inner authority, and you've entered into this relationship according to these things, and the other person has as well, this struggle won't seem as difficult. If you haven't entered into it correctly, it will be an extremely difficult love to endure, or a partnership to keep it alive. As well, of course, if there's a compromise, it becomes even more difficult. So if you look back at Romeo and Juliet, you can see there was a lot of struggle. And it's kind of, if I can't have you, then there's no purpose. It is also deeply connected to purpose. If you have someone with a 28 coming to you asking for guidance and you're not very clear on what their purpose is in life, they're not going to be satisfied. But this whole struggle that they're experiencing is what is so important in the relationship. And when you're entering into it correctly, it feels good. It feels all right. But when you're entering it not correctly, this is going to be extremely difficult to handle. This love is going to challenge you to the max. So the reason why it is connected to the muse is because there's usually always this balance between feeling very melancholic, and if you're also looking at poetry or any kind of romantic drama from Shakespeare, for example, it's connected to not being able to have the love that you desire. And that's where a lot of creativity comes from. And when you're interpreting this struggle more in the way of being who you are, instead of trying to attach the purpose, your purpose, to a person, that is where this deep love can come from. It is really about being you and not dive into this struggle and melancholy and trying to explain and understand why am I feeling like this all the time. So not taking it personal, again, is a big thing here. You can use this melancholy as a creative process, but just don't take it personal. Gate 55 is as well as an individual gate. It's in the emotional solar plexus. And they are often unable to say what they know. So even when you're asking them, are you in love with me? They may answer, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Even 25 years down the line, it can still be an I don't know. It's a gate that is often very much connected to eating disorders as well. But it is a very, very creative gate and deeply connected to music. So yeah, it can be very difficult to hear I don't know all the time. but it's also maybe not necessary to continuously tell someone that you love them if your actions speak louder than words. And as I said, there are many more gates that can influence you. It can even influence you whenever you meet a person, the time that you meet a person. If there is a slow transiting planet that is defining one of your love gates, you can fall in love with someone because of that quality that is being defined. It's not necessarily even about the person that you're meeting. It could just be a planetary influence that is happening, and that's why you feel this strong connection to them. Love gates, as you can see, are very complex. They are very insightful when you are looking at your own design and at the other person's design. However, you don't really need to know any of this. As long as you're operating correctly, as long as you are becoming the best version of yourself and increasing your frequency, you're going to attract the right types of love for you. And each of these elements will be easier whenever you're encountering them in another person. So with all of that being said, we're going to dive into the details, or a bit more of a comprehensive part of these gates, by really looking at people's designs to understand them better. Because right now, you kind of have an idea of what that might mean. But to really understand it, you need to see it in action in someone's design, because everything plays a part. The type of the person plays a part, the line in which the gate is, the way that they're connecting to others. As I said, even the planetary transits play a part, play a role in whenever you're connecting with someone. So I hope that this episode was a good one for you, that you enjoyed it, even though it was just me today. Sadly, but I hope Celestina is going to be able to join again next time. She had way too much on her plate today, or this week. It wasn't just today. These last 2 weeks were a lot. She had to move. She had to train people for her work. So let's hope she can join us again next week. Until then, have a beautiful rest of your day or rest of your week whenever you're listening to this, and we hope to see you soon. Bye everyone.